Look, I tried to get my right Nacho Monster shirt. I have one that got a patch up here. Based upon the way it's cut me, I should have wore that one, but it's all good.
See, I did the same thing. I thought about that. I was going through the shirts because there's a couple of them I kind of want to do for the sake of continuity and branding and showing off my people and stuff like that, which I need a Nacho Monster shirt too. But the one Ottawa shirt that I wanted because it was gray, I said, oh, this would offset perfectly because I got the background in the back. It cuts, so it would just say all those that. Like that would be it. But I got to get this one. Qualified the podcast. I'm your host, Hassan, and with me we have Brad Deyon. Big Bad Brad, Nacho Monster, man about Houston, entrepreneur, many hats. We've had a friendship for 18 years almost, more or less. I think it's probably close to 20.
Long time. The reason why I brought you on is because this season I really wanted to dedicate a lot of time and coverage to the people who had enough impact in the city and don't really get a lot of recognition. Mainly because we did a lot of things that influenced others. With that being said, let's talk about entrepreneurship. The
grind. How important is that to you?
Man, for me, bro, it's very, very important. It's funny. I used to be like, man, where did this come from? Why am I so driven to be an entrepreneur? Then one time my mama told me, she said, I used to pray with y'all about y'all. And I was like, what did you pray about? She said, I used to pray that even if y'all had a job, you still had your own business. And I was like, Lord, is this where this came from? Because I could tell you, there are, I'm sure, much easier paths to entrepreneurship when it comes to getting started. See, a lot of people like to talk about, the sexy aspects of entrepreneurship, the free time, a lot of money, and all of those things are great, and all those things do come, but you have to realize that those things come in time. You know what I'm saying? And when you're first getting started, it's not a lot of money. It's not a lot of time. It's actually the flip side of that. It's even when you're making money, you reinvest in the money, you spend a lot of time. So for me though, entrepreneurship is important because I believe in legacy. I believe in legacy. I believe in ownership. Not even for the purpose of just saying that you have your own free time and saying that you make a lot of money, but for the purposes of saying that I can pass something on to my children. I can actually operate inside of my purpose as opposed to building someone else's dream. Because regardless of whether you have a job or you work for someone else, you still involved in entrepreneurship. It's kind of like what people say about real estate. They say, hey, you're in real estate, whether you own a home, you're buying a home, or you're investing in homes, because either way, whether you rent a home, either way you're in it. So no matter what, I think we're all engaged in entrepreneurship. It's just whether or not it's your dream or someone else's dream.
As we've grown, I agree with that. I think, so to go back to preface for the audience, we started off our lives in corporate America, at least in terms of where our friendship started. It wasn't necessarily the fact that we were both working in corporate America, only wanting to be in corporate America. We always had ideas, and be it that we were in school at the time, college, trying to figure out what this actually meant. We were children. None of us were even able to drink yet. So it came later for a lot of us, honestly. I mean, just in terms of not a vice, but a recreational activity. But we've had this mindset, this rabid dog mindset about, I got to do something. And I think that in many ways that corporate building was training camp for a lot of entrepreneurs, because we got involved in a lot of things and a lot of things didn't work. And some things in terms of the lessons we carried on and to reapply into the next item. But there was something you said it 20 years ago. And I wonder if you remember it. It was about 8 ventures and just starting 8 and just trying to see which ones actually work and then stick with those. Do you remember that?
Man, bro, it sounds like, I kind of faintly remember that. It sounds like something I would have said back then. I definitely was a throw as many as you can against the wall kind of guy at the time, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, definitely. And I think I was also on that 7 streams of income thing too at that time. So yeah, absolutely. Okay. And you know where I got that from, Hassan? I think that not just to throw names, but back then I was doing an internship and was around Matthew Knowles. And one of the things that he said at the time was, he said, you know, records, when people release records, he said like Columbia Records at the time, that's who Destiny Child was signed to. He said when people release, when Columbia releases records, they'll release 100 in a year, and they hope like 7 of them stick. And that's kind of where I got that concept, that mindset from when I said that. Yeah.
I like it. See, it stuck with me for 2 decades. Yeah, I like it. But the idea behind it is that's what I remember when you said 7 streams of income. But you know, this is more of a prevalent conversation now, right? Because through social media, as well as just we're pushing a culture. Not, I'm playing a part in it, and of course you are too. But I'm talking about from the media mindset. We're pushing a culture for minorities to understand that this is in itself very, very important, and the billionaires and everyone else who's not us, who's already working this business model. So why can't we? So 2 decades ago, me, you know, barely understanding myself, when you said it, I said, that's crazy. You're about to do 7 different things to see which one works, you know, but because how would you ever go to sleep, you know? At that point, I think I was changing my major from the architecture school. It was still HVAC, but I was changing it from the architecture school over into the graphic school. So they didn't sleep in architecture. I said, no, man, I got to get some level of rest here, you know? So you're under the tutelage of Matthew Knowles during the internship, right? What was the name of his management company?
Music World Entertainment.
Which was downtown?
Yes.
On the branch, I remember. Shout out to Music World. Hey, Matthew Knowles is an icon. I mean, the Knowles family in itself is. Having said that, though, is that what inspired you to do Coffee House?
Actually, man, you know what? And I was listening to Dame Dash today. He was talking about ownership and things, and that's always been a big thing for me. The thing that inspired me to do Coffee House was this. I wanted to. My father was in concert promotions, that type of thing, and he started teaching us that business. And I wanted to. One day, I was watching Trick Daddy. I was watching TV, and Trick Daddy came on TV, and he said that he was doing concerts, and then he started seeing how much money he had to pay out to the artists. So he was like, man, I should start a record label. And I always was a big fan of Motown. I always aspired to be aspired to have that level of success. So I said I would start a record label. Now, the first person that I worked with, though, she was 15 years old. So I really couldn't book her into clubs or anything like that. So I just said to myself, man, I'm gonna throw my own show. And so I knew a lot of local artists in Houston, and I invited a lot of them out to my mom's house. At that time, I had already started doing some things in her garage toward the record label thing. And man, I invited them out to come see this girl perform in my mom's living room. And that night, it just turned into this huge jam session where all the artists that started performing. It was like this big competitive thing. And so from there, you know, family, friends, I knew a guy owned the club. He said, hey man, you come to the club and do this show if you want to do it here. So I started doing that. So it was more so I wanted to provide artists with a platform to showcase their talent. And it was born out of the fact that initially I didn't have a platform. So I went and made my own. And that's really how that came about. And then from there, I just saw the benefit of it from, you know, a lot of people will say, especially recording artists, a lot of them will have a mindset like I'm the best in the world, you know, that type of mindset. And I just had to start process is like, yeah, you're the best in the world because you compare apples to oranges, but what happens when another apple show up? And so that's just what really kind of, you know, fostered that. And then of course the Music World connection allowed me to run a lot of their label acts through the show. So it was pretty cool though. I like that run.
Again, the rationale behind me even starting this, I was talking with a couple of my buddies, and I pass on a lot of the knowledge that I learned through the art world, mainly my medium being photography at the time. So I was giving him all of this information, and he says, man, you're teaching a master class. But, you know, as you know, like I'm super excited and I'm really intense. So I'm yelling at him like a football coach because he's nailing the shots that I know that we need. You know, and the assistant that he had is like, is he always like this? And he's like, yeah. You know,
even 20 years ago. Yeah.
It is only worse now. But the nature of it, he says, you know, you have so much information, you should probably do something like to record it. So why don't we just open up a platform where we can share the information? And that's an aspect of what I want this to be. And in that being mentioned, the reason why I want to talk to you and others is because we have a lot of documented proof of concept about everything that we've talked about, hence qualified being the name of the podcast.
Mhm.
Now, whether it worked successfully or failed miserably, at least we know why it did. Let me talk about Coffee House. I'll big you up for a minute and I want to expand on it. So, what I saw with you um, pre-legal age was that you took the momentum of knowing and your drive of knowing how to produce or provide a platform for artists to actually express themselves. And it was, I don't know if you did this on purpose, but it became a hodgepodge of talent. So correct me if I'm wrong. We did rap, you did, I say we, but you did rap, you did R&B performances, spoken word performances.
Mhm.
And I think you may have had some other artists as well, but
Comedy.
comedy, right?
Mhm.
So technically all variable platforms of expression. But in that, did you expect for it to mushroom into what it did for you to do like a series run like that?
Bro, I think when I first started doing it, I just think, man, Hassan, now I didn't think it was gonna grow into what it grew into. I just wanted, it was like I was just doing it for the purity of doing it. It was like I love music, I love artists. It was kind of really like my way of indirectly discovering the best talent. Because remember, my goal was to start a record label. So I said my thought process was the record label that would be the best record label is a label who was able to discover the talent the earliest before anyone else
Mm-hmm.
discovers them. So I just started doing the show. And then I remember when I first started, I think I was doing it every 2 weeks, man. And it was just like, and it was so many, there were so many people that wanted it. There was so much talent around it. And then I think the other little part that really kind of made ours have a twist was it was invitation only. So it wasn't like this is just a regular open mic. It was like I'm only inviting you. And then once you start adding in some of the some of the benefits, and it's funny that you say we, right? And then that's how I really truly feel. Like it was a collective movement. It was a movement like people like you being involved, my friends, other friends being involved, and it was just like everybody was just excited about it. And man, it just ballooned, bro. It ballooned. It grew out of nowhere. A lot of the family relationships kind of helped that. Club owners that we knew, the Music World situation. In fact, I remember when they first opened the House of Deyon, which was like that venue that they had there. They weren't letting any other promoters promote events there. They were only doing inside events. But because my mom worked there, they let me do events there. So I had like added edge on people that other
Yeah.
people wouldn't have access to.
I think you definitely leveraged your resources a lot earlier, but you've always been a 100 miles an hour thinker, but like a 10 step ahead, 100 miles an hour. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like you're
Thank you,
going to go
bro.
full throttle. Now, I mean it, man, because I'm being very honest with you, between you and Roger, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
there's a few others, but I mean, the primary, the click
Mm-hmm.
between you two, I've never met a person more positive than him, but I had not met a person more
Yeah.
driven than you.
Oh,
You know, like,
wow.
and I'm competitive. So quite naturally,
Yeah.
if we're gonna be in a training environment and I start seeing, a lot of people lifting heavy weights or throwing harder punches or even running faster, I want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm never a person to ask myself, ooh, why can't I do that? No, I'm going to say, how can I do that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But that's or either way, or that, or I won't in. So even with
Mm-hmm.
you, no, I don't want to have a promotional platform where I put artists forward. However, the industry profile was, it eventually mushroomed into that.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But it was me just wanting to be in to learn what you're doing and to see if that is somehow applicable to me. And if not, then how can I contribute?
And see, bro, you're ahead of the game in that. See, right now, I think a lot of people, and when you talk about me and Roger, bro, I look at it like a trifecta type of situation. If I was thinking about back to that time, I'm like, bro, if I had to bet, I'm betting on Brad, Roderick, and Hassan. You know what I'm saying? This is who I'm betting on. And I
Yeah.
often tell people the stories of those times, but you were ahead of the thing. A lot of people now talking about stuff like being involved, being into something, getting into it. And a lot of people miss that when you start talking about entrepreneurship. Even when you go to school, like I learned so much from, like even when I left Telecheck, I started a marketing business, right? And even though I had a degree in marketing, because I started a marketing business and I worked in marketing, when I later got jobs that were around marketing departments or in marketing departments, I knew way more than those people. They might know one specific thing. They might know how to buy ads. But when I came, I know how to buy ads, I know about billboards, I know about television, I know how to do marketing strategy, because you got into it. And I think with what you did with Industry Profile, bro, it just, not even to toot your own horn because you're on the show, but what you did, it blew my mind at the time. I was like, man, her son over here tripping with these bottles. He having this shoot. I'm a go because it seemed like it's about to be cool. He dropping the calendar, and he not. And the crazy part about it, let's just be honest, he not doing this just because he's trying to have sex with a lot of women. You know what I'm saying? This dude is genuinely on this modeling thing and then setting it up on a website platform. And first of all, bro, we already know how expensive websites were back then. No one was on that. Like, nobody was even, I don't think I even thought about a website. So just everybody from that time was just ahead of their time. And I don't know if it was Jackie, I attribute it to Jackie Jackson Rose. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, her ability to hire and source talent, bro, was absolutely amazing, because most of the people that were on that team were amazing.
100% agree with you. So let me branch real quick for the listeners. The era that we're talking about, we keep reflecting back 20 years ago, and so this is an era called MySpace era.
MySpace.
If you're aware of it, MySpace and Black Planet, right?
Black Planet.
So if you were in college during the time frames of the MySpace and Black Planet era, I want to hear from you, because we got some nostalgia to talk about. But at the same time,
right before Facebook launched.
Right before Facebook launched, because it just wasn't that. You know, I think Facebook launched while we were actually at.
It launched our last year in college, junior, senior year it launched.
Think about social media, and for whatever age group is listening to this. Think about social media from an aspect of filtered by interest group and perhaps by minority bracket. But ideally, yes, I will say this about the Industry Profile. It did do something ahead of schedule, ahead of the curve. Alistair, and Alistair, if you're listening, I want to talk to you. Alistair told me when we were developing that website, because if it wasn't for Roderick, I wouldn't have met him.
Yeah.
He puts this together and he says, I've never done anything like this. I've never seen anything like it. But that platform allowed for me to understand web marketing, ad space, right? Way before that was a thing. I used to go to other people asking about sponsorship, and he would tell me about the banner size that you need to have on it. And they would say, well, why do I want to market here? I said, well, it's because I get 100,000 hits a month. And they were 100,000 hits. I said, yeah, it's not one guy hitting 100,000 times. It's 100,000 different people. And here's the demographics and here's the variance. Everything metrically that you want now. I was pulling reports that cost me a lot of money to get then, right? But it was just proof of concept and proof of product, right? So that's what the Industry Profile, at least from the lessons learned section, that's what it is to me. Because I can build a website, but I also understand the importance of metrics from 20 years ago. So I won't have a conversation about web traffic without it. And I don't have this platform distributed without understanding where the metrics are, because in our space, there's not a lot of people who do it. And you did that too with Coffee House. But let me not spend too much time on that. But I wanted to point that out as being a monument. But from Coffee House, you shut it down. I think we had that conversation privately about it, so I won't ask about why here. But the next thing that you did creatively for entrepreneurship, what was that?
Next thing out of that, I got into doing like events, festival types of things, more so like on a contractual type of basis. So I did my own, but then I just noticed, bro, a lot of people didn't know how to organize a festival at a high level, like with a lot of moving parts, not just thinking vendors, but clearing permits, clearing licenses. So I went through that phase, and then I invented a product, a kitchen product called a Towel Tom. And, I rocked that for a little bit. So, and then now I'm where I'm at right now.
How successful was the kitchen product?
Man, I successfully got a patent. That process, I actually am a patented inventor, right? So I was able to clear that part. Towel Tom, I know, right? Towel Tom is not as successful as I want it to be. Couple of reasons. One, retail, like getting into big box retailers, that's the thing. Two, I think I was a little bit ahead of where the internet is now, but the catch is it's a patent. so I can still do it. So from that, what I learned, like, it is crazy. You talk about lessons, right? From that, what I learned was project management. Like one, I had paused for a little while because I was like, man, this stuff not hitting the way I wanted to hit, blah, 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 blah. So I got back in the tower tongue, my ideas started flowing back into my head. I really learned product management, and I really learned how to take a product past the finish line. And I took that same concept, and from there I got back into music again, and I just started applying that to records. I started doing like single deals with X. But it was all, at that point I had realized what the true skill set was. It wasn't anything beyond project management. It was like, look, all you gotta do is manage the project. And I was very good at managing projects through completion because I had Tower Tongue to develop a product from concept in your head, starting off with, drawing it on a piece of paper, then making it cutting up out of paper, to making it out of wood, then going to injection molding and R&D, speak with people all around the world to pull this off. That really taught me a lot. So I applied that to music, and then music brought me back into the entertainment space. And now that's actually pulled me towards where I'm at right now with Nacho Monster.
Number one, thank you for talking about that product, because I think lessons are important. But I generally, just for me in my mentorship, how I pick my mentors, who I even decide to listen to in general free game conversations. If you tell me how you made the money or how you won, I'm listening to you. If you tell me why you lost, and that loss doesn't involve someone else's blame, then I'm listening to you. I need to know both of these. I want to know what part you played directly in that. But this is all your baby. So that is, the decisions to continue, to birth, to death. That was all you.
Yeah.
And whether or not that becomes public lessons versus, minor scopes of, information as to what's important to the public, that's important to have. Because we listen to too many people to say, oh man, I had it all, but so-and-so, ruined it for me, or this, that, and the other.
Everything that you do, you're doing to yourself. All the things are your decisions, everything, bro. It doesn't matter. So I'm definitely one of those people inside out, as opposed to outside in. I believe in, you master yourself, you master your world. So the Tower Tongue failures and successes, they all on me. It's all on me. So I started focusing a little bit more. I found purpose. And again, that's what I'm on right now. Hey, purpose, fulfilling, meeting this goal that I'm trying to reach.
Okay, so then the two things that I wanted to ask you about that I would like for you to describe. One, why you decided to do a food truck. And then also the cartoons that I'm seeing.
So food truck, man, one day I started, so I'm a spiritual person, right? So one day I was praying to God. I was like, God, I need a new vision. I need a new passion, And so it came to me, man, and it's crazy. And this is why I believe that you always know what you really want to do. It came to me, man, you're going to start a television network. Now, in the past, I had said to God, actually, I was like, God, look, I don't care what you got planned for me. I want to be a music industry mogul. You know what I'm saying? Make me like Barry Gordy. That was a very foolish prayer. You know what I'm saying? Now I look back. But I said, so I got this vision on starting this television network. And the network that I want to start is basically a network that has content that highlights Black children, families, culture in a positive way. I just got this idea, like, man, buy a food truck. And everything just started falling into place. Everything was falling in place. I found a food truck. I think I found one. I had negotiated, got down, started it for $8,000. I drove it. The transmission was doing something. And he was like, I'll pay for it. I said, nah, how about I just give you $5,000? We call it a day. Took it down the street. It was a $12 part. You know what I'm saying? So I came up with this concept called Nacho Monster, which was based upon me selling nachos at a club earlier in life. Like I had sold these nachos at a club earlier in life, and I called it Nacho Monster. And I was like, how does that attach to me having this network, which was actually a childhood dream that I always had. I wanted a network, Hassan, when I met you, right? Yeah. I did. I just didn't speak about it. It was the last dream on my list. And it was one of those ones that I believe would never ever, I was like, I want to really have a network, but man, if that never happened, it never happens. So one of my boys was talking to me. He was like, Brad, he really was cursing. He was like, Brad, your nachos ain't SHIT. He said, but he said, your thing is branding and marketing. He said, so those three characters that you're talking about turning and putting on the side of your truck, what if you make it, like you should make them into keychains and toys. And when he said that, the vision flashed before my eyes, and it was like the Nacho Monsters, I would turn them into a cartoon, and what Mickey Mouse was for Disney would be for me. The Nacho Monsters would be for me. So right now, I have created, my goal is to create an ecosystem. I've learned that animation is costly. And I also thought to myself that maybe there might not be financiers for shows that depict Black people in positive ways. So I need to create a platform to be able to finance my own shows. That is the food portion of the business. And so the Nacho Monster food truck sells nachos, but then the Nacho Monster characters are going to be our first cartoon. And then one day, that'll be a major network.
2 streams of income off one concept.
2 streams of income off one concept. And if you really throw another one in, a 3rd stream of income, which would be merchandise. So it's a total ecosystem that feeds itself. And in my research, one day I discovered that this is exactly what Disney does. I didn't even know it, but that's exactly what they do when they sell you all the items that they sell you, you know, whether it be in their parks or on television or all those types of things.
And those are copyrighted and trademarked as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We're not playing with the Nacho Monsters, bro. And those are based upon lessons learned from when I was younger, when I didn't take care of paperwork and I didn't do the things that I needed to do early on. And some of those things came back to bite me, as my mentors told me they would, you know?
Well, that's the art of war. When the enemy goes to ground, leave no ground to go to.
Exactly, bro. Exactly.
That's perfect. The food truck itself, so as that is now a venture, it's a mobile venture. How can they find you?
Follow me at Nacho Monsters on Instagram. So that's NachoMonsters. That's the best way to catch up with us. So if you follow us at Nacho Monsters on Instagram, you'll be able to find us. Our website is also nachomonsters.com. That's still in development, but pretty soon you'll see that and it'll be rocking and rolling.
It's a small goal of mine to try to bring on everyone that wants to have a conversation about these lessons and life experiences.
I appreciate it, man. Congratulations on the show.
No problem, man. I appreciate it. I'm gonna talk to you later, okay?